it.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to Political Platform. My name is Amechi Anokwu. Of course, we're on various platforms apart from listening live now through your radio sets. You can also download the RIPA network app from the Google Play Store. And of course, you can catch up later by watching our YouTube channel, AIT Political Platform, as well as AIT Abuja at 6 p.m. Later this evening. Of course, we have a bumper package. A fresh Boko Haram onslaught is a source of concern to many Nigerians, of course, including the acting president, who some few days ago, that should be last week, directed the service chiefs to move over to the theater of war, remain there and direct and lead from the front with a view to checking the activities of the group. Just yesterday, a village in Adamawa State was attacked, about 7 persons dead in Madagali local government area of that state. Coming at a time, the U.S. Department of State is saying that no much progress has been achieved, countering the military's own version of the story, that it has indeed displaced the insurgents from the entire Sambisa forest. We shall be taking a look at this onslaught and ways of indeed getting behind this problem. Coming at a time also, the Transparency International and International Anti-Corruption Agency is alleging that indeed there's some corrupt activities, especially in the procurement of military hardware. Allegations that won't just leave the Nigerian military alone. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, of course, apparently is not enjoying the best of relations with the EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. There's a face-off and some disagreements over whether the EFCC should give the AGF copies of cases, especially high-profile cases before it. Letters have been written, we heard, from the AGF to the EFCC, but the EFCC has not complied. Of course, legal opinions are coming with Nigerians weighing in on both sides. But our concern is on the implications on the anti-corruption campaign. And the acting president yesterday said at a forum in Abuja that political office seekers are those that are fueling the marginalization and agitation outcry against across the country, that they are just on a mission with the objective being to indeed capture or get some plum political jobs in the process. I'm not alone as usual. The rest of the crew is there. Adebayo Bodore is here with us.
A very good morning to you out there. I get worried most of the time when I see interagency rivalry, and it's so pronounced. And the implication of it is that it weakens the processes of carrying out a task. And the current one between the AGF office, the Attorney General's office, and that of the Presidential Committee on against corruption, I think is a source of worry. The totality of it is that the current efforts being made by the National Assembly to separate the office of the Minister of Justice from that of the Attorney General, I think is a welcome development. I do not see, at the end of the day, if we have a very strong office of an Attorney General that is impartial, that is independent, we don't need committees to offer legal advices to government in carrying out its duties, particularly on this issue of corruption. Because a situation where you have rift, the ego will come in, and that will hamper completely the crusade against corruption. Inter-rivalry agency is so pronounced in almost in all sectors of the government, and something must be done in such a way that we don't have multiple bodies doing the same thing. a single body that is strengthened, that is independent, that is strong, can help us achieve our goal rather than all this multiplicity of bodies that we keep on setting up every day.
UPSURGE is also in the studio with us.
I totally agree with Adebayo Bodunri, because you see that in some cases, the rivalry is not even in the interest of the country. It is maybe based on personal interest. And that does not augur well for the nation. Whatever any public servant should do should be in the overall interest of the country. I mean, why would people who set the same goals for themselves, if you say you're fighting corruption, why would these two people or two groups who set the same goals for themselves be fighting against each other and be hampering progress even in the same area?
Mustafa Mohammed also completes our number.
Thank you, Amechi. One of the things we noticed recently is the drift of the Federal Capital Territory from a befitting nation's capital to a dirty place. The pre-Erufai era has returned. You need to see heaps of waste. Those traveling along the Nyanya Karu Karshi highway can testify that in front of that graveyard, the heap of waste is almost taking the highway, and then there are indiscriminate dumping of waste here and there by residents in various parts of the FCT. The prostitutes that have been arrested in the past and been locked up have now started taking various areas in the city center. It doesn't tell well of a nation's capital. I think there is need for the Minister of FCT, Bello, to really wake up from slumber. There are agencies like the Abuja Environmental Protection and others. They have not been doing enough to make sure that Abuja remains the most cherished clean capital that we all love.
Well, we're talking about capital cities. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo says that he hopes in his lifetime, before he passes away, that Lagos, Nigeria's commercial nerve center, will rise to become the third largest economy in Africa. The rate the city is going, he believes it will be achieved in no distant time. And of course, the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adoshu, telling us that about 55% of the value-added tax collected in Nigeria come from Lagos. It tells you about Lagos and how it's managed and how the previous successive governments have been doing a lot to make it an international capital.
Where you eliminate rivalry or maybe a successor trying to tarnish the image of his predecessor, this is the kind of result you get from continuity. The next person, you think this person has done, fantastically well. The next person comes, he builds on that, achievement. That is what leadership should be. And that is why Lagos has set the pace and continues to set the pace. Focused leadership, and a state where its leaders are not mentally lazy. Every day Lagos is coming up with ideas, fantastic ideas of how to build on its revenue. Why would Lagos not be like that?
Anyway, Abuja is not far behind in terms of contributions to the value-added tax, 20%. So despite being a political capital, it's still doing very well economically with potentials if the right decisions and policies are in tune. Let's expand the discussions, the scope. Let's get your own comments, suggestions, and opinion on topical national issues.
Hello and welcome to the Mill segment. I am Usaiti Yari.
I am Tenikang Akipu. You're welcome.
Reacting to latest developments, Ruth Zara in Abuja says, I commend the acting president for yesterday's appointments, including redeploying Ekbonta from ICPC to Salaries, Income and Wages Commission. These are some of the decisions we expect from Oshibajo. I urge him to go a step further to reshuffle the cabinet and remove some heads of ministries, development and agencies, as some of them are merely existing without doing anything.
And this mail is also a reaction to discussions on constitution of boards, and it's coming from Akpa Chukwuemeka in Abuja. He says, on the constitution of boards of parastatals, I feel highly disappointed that the board of some key agencies are left unconstituted till date. Worthy of note is that of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, the regulatory body of medical practice in Nigeria. I wish to call on the relevant authorities to do the needful, as the non-constitution of this board is further bringing the activities of the health sector to disrepute and further encourages quackery.
Away from that, Dixon Eka in Abuja says, the harsh words of the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar showed that the Adamawa political bigwig is on the verge of leaving the APC again. The impatient Atiku Abubakar may be saying the truth when he said the APC lacked democratic tenets, but if he is leaving the APC, then it will show how desperate he is for power at the center. Between 2007 and 2015, Atiku contested for president 3 times in 3 different political parties, which is not a good one. For how long can he continue to jump from one political party to the other? Unfortunately, Atiku Abubakar has never stayed and supported any candidate in any political party before. Rather, he jumps and contests for president only. I advise Atiku to remain in a political party of his choice, nurture and breed formidable supporters that can deliver him in any contest. Money is not everything. Ideas are also necessary.
And to recent attacks on Kogi Assembly, Andrew Morgan in Abuja says, it's unfortunate that in this time of our democracy, thugs still attack and disrupt a House of Assembly sitting in the presence of policemen, injuring lawmakers. This is condemnable, and I urge the IGP to order a full investigation into the matter on why policemen allowed thugs without making any arrest. I also urge some of our governors to allow the legislature to be independent.
Finally, Emmanuel Ocharifu says, it was a great feeling to me yesterday when the platform celebrated our Afrobeat legend, Fela Anikulapo Kuti, with his music at the background of the platform all through. Kudos to Ray Power. Nice one, I must confess. But however, may I use this opportunity to humbly crave your indulgence to please henceforth use Fela's music as background for the program because of the same political philosophy his music shares with your platform. May God bless Nigeria.
And it's on this note we wrap it up on the mail segment. Send your mails to politicalplatform@yahoo.com.
Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Thank you so much for your mails. Sometimes we do comment on some of them. Some other times we internalize some suggestions you made. One listener wrote in advising that we should spend 3 to 4 minutes going through every mail for the day. But we know we have a constraint of time. So as much as possible, we'll try to do that. But going into the issues for the day, of course, Nigeria has, of course, been inundated with news in recent months about rivalry among and between key government agencies, especially security agencies. We hear of the NSA having some issues with the DSS and name it. And it's not something that we should be proud about and continue to talk of. But unfortunately, it has been with us, and there are doubts over whether the root causes of the problem have been taken care of. Interagency rivalry within the security circles is not peculiar to Nigeria. Even in the United States, you have such a big problem. So it's not unique to us, but considering the present state of the country, we must try to always nip it in the bud and reduce it to the barest minimum. The latest is, of course, within the anti-corruption circles, the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the chief law officer for the country, is involved with litigations and indeed, by implications, anti-corruption laws and indeed anti-corruption suits. Same with the EFCC commission, created separately to indeed up the anti-corruption campaign. Of course, like we told you at the beginning, at some time in the past, the Attorney General wrote to the EFCC demanding for some case files of highly sensitive cases. What we heard was that it was not responded to, prompting the Attorney General to also send another letter to remind the EFCC of his earlier intention. And about 1 month ago, we saw the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, that's Professor Isisege, and Professor Dekunle, another member, criticized the Attorney General of the Federation for not doing enough in the anti-corruption campaign. The Attorney General responded saying the allegations were not indeed deeply founded, and even gave reasons with directives he said that he quickly gave when some cases were lost by the government at the High Court, and he had to cause those responsible to quickly appeal. What all this tells us is that indeed there are some gaps, there are some unnecessary rivalry. The anti-corruption campaign is one of the cardinal principles of the Buhari administration, and those he had appointed and recruited to help him drive that endeavor are not helping matters with unnecessary and petty rivalry.
Amechi and Akwe, we cannot compare the interagency rivalry in the United States or from Western countries and the ones that, I think, with the ones that are happening in Nigeria. What's happening in Nigeria is a pure personality clashes. The agencies in other places developed over time. They had wonderful achievements. The leaders of such agencies try to defend the agency's work, the agency's institution. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we do the big man thing. It's all about ego. It's all about personality. You look at somebody, you look down upon him, you have hatred or some kind of perception that has no basis, and you feel you have rights or some powers to stop one another from doing this work. What happens? The Nigerian nation suffers. The institutions suffer as a result. But then, for a very long time, these things have been happening in this government. The executive under the presidency has not done anything to stop this unwanted rivalry. And so long as the federal government refuses to intervene, the rivalry will continue, the job will suffer. There were so many corruption busts. How many people have been convicted since? How many people are there in Kuje prison, Patiskum prison, the notorious Bama prison, where some people are supposed to be there by now? They are not.
The only conviction, the high-profile conviction that the anti-corruption agencies got and Nigerians were almost celebrating was that of the former governor of Adamawa State, James Inglari, but he quickly went to the appeal court and made sure that it was a short-lived celebration. So most anti-corruption cases have been lost, and the rivalry may also help to explain why we keep losing them.
You see, when Obama, in his first trip to Africa, was in Ghana, and he delivered that historic message to Africans, that the dilemma of Africa is that we are building individuals and not institutions. And so the same thing was happening in Nigeria before, and it is still happening now. The situation we find ourselves is that individuals that are appointed to head institutions or are appointed to serve in certain institutions are building themselves and not the institution. And I think that is the greatest dilemma we face today. If our institutions are built with capacity, those who are working there will now be able to demonstrate competence and capability to handle the tasks they have. But the situation where individuals are promoting themselves, and the course of promoting themselves, then you now have personality clashes, and that is what we are now witnessing, and it's a serious sign of derailment from the mission or they set for themselves.
Amici, you gave the American example. You know, it's just like the newsroom. Rivalry could be positive. You know, it could be a matter of, oh, you're the best, you're healthy rivalry. It could be a matter of, you're the best reporter this month. Next month, I want to overtake you. It becomes rivalry by achievements. Rivalry where you want to outdo the other in achieving the ultimate goal of an institution or an administration. And that's what you have in the United States. It's not the same with what we have here. Like Mustafa also mentioned, I think that the executive needs to wade in, even if it's by removing such appointees, something that could deter them or deter this situation from remaining in our polity should be done. It is not enough to just leave them to have their way and then soldier goes, soldier comes, and the situation remains with every government. Let the executive do something concrete that will tell the next man that comes to that position that if he misbehaves, something will happen to him.
The rejection of the request by the executive by the Senate to indeed confirm the appointment of Ibrahim Magu as EFCC chairman was as a result of several letters, about 2 of them the DSS wrote to the Senate saying he's not a fit and proper person to indeed remain in office. The rivalry is so glaring, and one begins to wonder, is there a man at the helm who appointed these persons? What manner of control does he have over them? Can he still call them to a meeting and tongue-lash them and ask them to drop those petty quarrels? Can he still fire them? Have their powers and influence risen higher and above that of the man that appointed them? These are some of the issues. But let's quickly go to another issue. The latest onslaught of the Boko Haram in the northeast. Yesterday in Adamawa, the Mildu village in Madagali local government area, not too far away from Gulag, where indeed before now and before the latest recovery of territories from the insurgents, they had previously attacked these villages. It was another sudden attack on the villagers. About 7 persons lost their lives, with one of them being the Boko Haram fighter. Of course, we heard the security agencies quickly moved in and drove them away. But this is coming at a time we are seeing an upsurge in suicide bombings, the killing of the team searching for crude oil in Borno State, the abduction of police women and their parade on TV by the abductors. So many of them coming, then join it with the statement of the U.S. Department of State. That's the U.S. Foreign Affairs Ministry. They submit annual reports to their Congress on the state of terrorist groups in Nigeria. And their position on Boko Haram is that we have not made much progress. And where we have made it, especially with the recovery of territories, the Nigerian military has been unable to hold territories recaptured from the insurgents. You recapture, you hold, then you establish government presence. They say these things have not been possible. That's why you see the insurgents regroup with ease and launch attacks even in villages near Maiduguri, the state capital. And their Transparency International also talking about corruption still being persistent in the military, especially with contrast for the purchase of military hardware.
Amechi and okay, for those who know how big the Sambisa forest is, you usually read stories from our colleagues who are ignorant about the size of the Sambisa. On social media, they post a lot of funny things. The truth of the matter is, the Nigerian army needs more logistics, needs more training. They need their welfare to be uplifted. The successes they recorded at the coming of Buratai, armies from other nations did not come and work for the Nigerian army. I think the government need to do the needful. Give them more logistics. Increase their capacity to gather intelligence. There must also be early warning system. Because these hundreds and thousands of villagers that are living at the edges of the Sambisa forest, whether it's around Askira, Dambua, Bama, and other places, they have nowhere to go. They will also go and join the IDPs if they leave this place.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, more comments on the situation in the Northeast.
Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Of course, welcome back to the program, and we have more comments on the anti-insurgency campaign in the Northeast.
Well, I think the directive of the acting president to the service chiefs who already have moved back to the front line. Let's hope that their presence there will probably help the nation
like he did before.
And then, like Mustafa said, we need more logistics, we need more materials in order for the military to perform. And that is not all. We must be able to have a proper defined policy on intelligence gathering, and that is be the only basis upon which we could record more successes.
And the National Assembly in the last 1 week has been meeting, with service chiefs and the military high command. Let's hope that all of this would yield result. And if it's in the area of funds, I believe that, or I hope that the National Assembly would do the needful so that these men can do the work that they have to do for the nation.
And I always emphasize the need to do the soft approach to the anti-insurgency campaign. Is not a military solution only. It can only be complement whatever we're doing. How come the insurgents regroup, recruit more hands, and of course launch new attacks at a time we think we have snuffed the life out of them? It has to be a multifaceted approach towards this anti-insurgency campaign. It's an ideology, a movement, and the government needs to do more to counter that ideology. And more importantly, like the U.S. Department of State said, there's a need to establish government presence in all those places. There were talks about moving policemen and civil defense armed personnel to areas that have been liberated to help to hold on to this territory.
And Amici, let me quickly add that you remember that even the military knows that at the height of the onslaught against insurgents, they scattered all over the country. Maybe now the military should also look into whether they are regrouping in the same place again.
Definitely regrouping. So we need more concerted efforts to nip it in the bud. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today. On Friday, we'll be here with the last edition of the week. On behalf of my colleagues, have a wonderful day.
Bust it.